Hello and welcome to the Play English Science and Language Art for 0 to 4-year-olds. My name is Elizabeth Bailey, and today I'm going to be talking to you about just some basics for keeping in mind as you're teaching your young children, and also go into some practical ideas for how you can teach science and language arts for your little ones. I'm a mom of 3, ages 3, 2, and 1, with another baby on the way. So we are all full of little life here, and some of the things that I've been learning as I've been a mom and as I was homeschooled by my own mom is that learning is a lifestyle, and we really need to keep that in mind with our little ones. Some people have the mistaken idea that setting our children down at a desk with a pencil and a piece of paper, making them write out words or connect meanings to different pictures, is helping them to learn. But at this age, they learn by playing. And so the best way to educate your children is to work it into everyday life, which is really practical when you've got little kids, because when they don't know how to even put on their own clothes, your life is just full of taking care of them. And that's okay, because that's how children learn at this age. You need to learn to make the world your classroom. So when you sit down to dinner and your child asks you a question about, "Mom, what is in this pasta?" you can talk to them about what's in it and how it's made, and whatever you know about it. Sometimes it's difficult because the questions children ask we don't actually know the answers to, and it's okay to say, "I don't know, let's find out." I already mentioned this, but children learn by playing. Play is a child's work. For us, play is how we relax, but for children, playing is helping them to work and develop their skills that they're going to use in their real work later on. For example, children, they develop learning skills by playing. One example is the midline. If you can imagine a line going from the top of your head down your body, that's called the midline. And it's very important for children to learn to cross over the midline, to pick up a pencil, to reach for food, to grab the item that they're playing with. And that helps them to be able to track from one side to the other when they're reading, going across the page with their eyes. There are some children that when they're writing, they have a difficult time writing from one side of the page to the next. They think they need to switch over to the other hand. And if you can have your child playing like a normal child, they're going to have plenty of interaction where their body is moving and they're crossing over the midline to do things. And that is going to help them later on with their ability to read, with their ability to write, and just with overall hand-eye coordination. Also, when children are playing and moving physically, it helps them to link vocabulary with physical movements. That's one of the reasons why if you teach your child a dance or a finger play to teach them about 10 tiny turtles, they're going to remember, because doing something at the same time that they're saying something will help it to stay in their memory longer. Also, we need to keep in mind that everyday work is a child's play. We might think that putting the spoons back in the silverware drawer is work, but for a child, that can be play for them as well. They see us doing work, washing windows, cleaning dishes, vacuuming the house, and they want to be a part of it. And especially when our children are little, this is a great time to train them to be responsible, to do that work, but to also have fun with it. So make your everyday work part of their learning. For example, when your child has, when you're sorting your spoons and your forks and your knives after a meal and you've just washed them and you need to put them back in the drawer, let your little one help with that. That helps them to learn organization and sorting, and also to just have fun with knowing that they're helping mom and dad with their work, and they're doing an important job. And that is play for little kids. So we need to keep that in mind, that we don't always have to be going out on an outing to a science museum or reading some intellectual book. We can just be doing everyday life with our little children, and that will help them develop their science, their language arts, whatever you fill in the blank. It's going to help them learn, and it's going to help them develop the tools that they need to learn more. So let's get practical. What does this look like? Well, before your child can talk, you're probably wondering, how do I teach science and language arts to someone who's not even saying anything? Well, there's a few things that I've found can be helpful, and I hope that they are to you. Number one is talk to your child. Even when they are an infant, only a few weeks old, they've been hearing your voice in the womb for 9 months, moms and dads, if you've been around and talking with your wife. And so they know your voice, and they love to hear it. And they're going to be hearing that voice hopefully for many years. And just talking to them about the things that you see and what you're doing, and helps them to learn the sound of whatever language you're speaking to them, and the flow and ebb of your voice, your voice expression matching your facial expressions. And when you go to the grocery store and they still can't talk, pointing out to them, this is broccoli, this is lettuce, this is cabbage, this is meat, and the man behind the meat counter is going to take the food that we're going to buy, and he's weighing it right now to see how heavy it is, and oh, now he's given it to us. Okay, we have to pay for it. It might make you sound kind of silly as you're walking through the grocery store, but if it's helping your child to learn and understand not only language, but in the future comprehending the work that you're doing, then that's okay if we look a little crazy. Maybe that's easy for me to say because I'm American and everyone thinks we're crazy anyway because we smile too much and we talk too loud. But hey, we do what's best for our kids when we can, right? So just talking to your child is really going to help them develop those language arts skills that they need. The second thing is reading to them. Even if your little one doesn't want to sit on your lap for more than 5 minutes, that's okay. Reading to them helps you because it introduces new vocabulary that you wouldn't usually use. And whenever we introduce new vocabulary to our children, that's a healthy thing for their education, because it makes them link that vocabulary with something else that they do know that's in the sentence, and it goes beyond us, because sometimes we use the same words over and over again each day, and reading books is a great way to expand that. And so getting your child books, making them available to them, the cardboard books so they can't rip the pages out are my favorites for children that are under the age of 2. And even reading to them while they're still playing. And this goes for children until they're 10. Reading to your children even while they're playing in the same room or cooking in the same room, because they might not seem like they're listening while they're building their towers of blocks, but they are, especially boys. We need to keep in mind that boys and girls have been made differently by God. And boys are usually more active, and they can take in information while they're doing something better than little girls. Little girls are usually better at sitting still and being proper, and boys, that's just not the way God made them. They were made to move, they were made to do, and that's not a bad thing. So don't try and make your little boys into little girls. It won't work. So be willing to read to them even when they're playing other things. Make a read aloud time. And with your little ones, going back to, ages 0 to 18 months or before they're really talking, put them on your lap and make that a fun time of snuggling and cuddling with your child and reading stories to them. Pick out books that have bright illustrations and bold colors that will catch your baby's eye so that they will stay more engaged. And that will help to instill in them a love of reading and learning in English or whatever language you choose to read to them in. The third thing that I'd like to bring up for little ones who can't talk is using American Sign Language. And this helps with several things. Number one, it's going to help when your child wants to communicate something but they can't, and it will really help cut down on frustration. All of our children, when they've been eating at the table, have started off with yelling when they want more food. Ah! And that's not acceptable at the table. And so teaching them more, please, we would put their hands together physically and we'd say, no, we say, more please, and we'd show them the sign for that. And that helped them know how they can communicate with mom and dad before they can even say anything. And we found that very helpful for our little ones. And that's something that when you're teaching them, whether it's about animals and their noises, you could use the sign for cow with the moo noise to help your children link cow with the noise that it makes, with the English or Russian word of that, and that will help them to be able to communicate when they're talking about a cow in a book, or children are able to do things physically before they're able to do things verbally with their mouth. And so giving them those tools to be able to talk to you with their hands instead of with their mouth is a great way to teach language to your little ones. So that's a little bit on teaching your infants who can't talk different things. Now when your child does start talking and it's a whirlwind of words and activity, some ideas for teaching them science, and we'll go over science first. So with science, one thing that you could do with your children is teaching them bath time anatomy. It's easy to get overwhelmed thinking, how do I teach my 3-year-old science? Well, we're not going to be going over really difficult scientific concepts. We're going over the basics. We're helping them to learn, how does the world work? How do things function? Why does this cause this? And what is that called? And how do I organize these things? These are the basic tools that they need to be able to learn their difficult physics lessons later on in high school. And so start off with the easy things. Start off with the basics. So one thing you could do is bath time anatomy. So when you are giving your child a bath, you can be helping them to learn the different parts of their body, because that is science. And so as you've got them with the washcloth, you can be washing them and telling them, we're going to wash your arm, and we're washing your palm and your fingers, and here's your thumb. And that might seem so silly and elementary, but who doesn't love bath time? Most kids love bath time. And so it's a way of incorporating fun with learning. Something else you can do as they get older is have your child wash themselves. When they're 2 or 3 and they're wanting to do everything themselves, let them do that. Give them their washcloth or their sponge, and you say, okay, can you wash behind your ears? All right, can you wash your hair? And that allows them to, once again, cross the midline, right? We're crossing over to the other side, developing our hand-eye coordination, and we're also helping them to learn and remember what are our body parts that we have. And you can turn it into a song as well, especially if your child loves singing. So you could sing a song like, "This is the way we wash our hair, wash our hair, wash our hair. This is the way we wash our hair all on a Monday evening. This is the way we wash our shoulders, wash our shoulders, wash our shoulders. This is the way we wash our shoulders all on a Monday evening," or "all in the bathtub," or however you want to phrase the song. You take whatever childhood songs work best for you and just insert your own words, because kids don't care if it was the original song. They just love to be able to sing, and it becomes a game. And it also gets your child clean, which is good. That's the main point of bath time, right? Another idea for learning science is baking and cooking together. Baking and cooking is really just chemistry, right? What makes the baking powder and the baking soda make the muffins rise, or the eggs inside of them? Why is it that when we heat up a pan, it cooks the chicken that's inside of it? And so they're learning cause and effect. And so have your child help you when you're baking bread or muffins or cabbage, or boiling your potatoes. Let them help. And you can talk to them about how if we cut up our potatoes into smaller pieces, it will be cooked faster because it's not as large of a chunk for it to heat through. They're smaller, so it's going to heat through faster. And you might not know all of the physics behind why it does that, but teaching your child cause and effect is still science, and it's going to help them learn. And it's also going to help them be comfortable in the kitchen, which is good for everyone, because food is a great part of life. I'm very thankful that we have to eat to stay alive, because it's a wonderful, pleasant thing. I love food. And you can help your children to learn to love to make food by bringing them into the kitchen with you. Pull up the chair, let them be there on the chair. You can also teach your child safety while they're cooking with you, letting them know that the knives are sharp, and so they need to keep their hands away because it could cut their hand, or that the pots and pans that are on the stove are hot, and this is hot, we don't touch it. And as long as you're there with your child, there's nothing wrong with having them around some of those things that are unsafe, because you are the one that's teaching them safety, and that's good. They need to hear that from mom and dad, to know that you're a trusted source for teaching what is good and what is safe and how to do things properly. Also, with baking and cooking, they can learn measuring with measuring different ingredients, and you're learning addition and subtraction while you're doing that. So that's one idea for science. Another is just playing sports together, or playing with a ball. Learning the base. Children love to see things fall. Have you noticed that? They'll take their spoon from off the table and they'll drop it, and they love to do it over and over again to our despair. And that's part of them learning how things work in the physical realm. They want to see, why does this drop? And when they drop a rubber ball, why does this bounce? And so playing things with your children where they're able to see the movement of other objects, like throwing a ball to each other or rolling a ball to each other, helps them to learn how things work. And so just taking 5 minutes to play with a ball with your child, bounce the ball to them, roll the ball to them, throw the ball to them, and that's helping them learn physics. That's helping them learn hand-to-eye coordination with trying to catch the ball and throw it themselves. Play is a child's work. Also, going on nature walks. When I was a little girl, my mom used to love to take me and my siblings on walks through the woods. And whenever we would walk, Mom would be looking around, trying to see things that she knew about. And she would stop us and she would say, "Oh, children, look! Look at this flower. This is a milkweed plant. And when you break open the leaf on this stem, this white liquid comes out and it looks milky, and that's why it's called milkweed. And you see these pods that are at the top? The seeds are inside of them, and feel how silky that part of the seed is. That's going to fluff up and take the seed far away to go plant more milkweed seeds." And we would all gather around my mother with eyes wide and ears open, and she was so excited about the things that she would find on our nature walks, even if it was just a common weed, that we remembered those. And we would all pick the milkweed or the flowers that she pointed out, or pick up the rocks that she pointed out, or touch the frog that she had found. And it became a very happy memory for me as I grew older, looking back at how my mom used a walk in the woods to teach us about whatever was around us, and the science of nature, and gave us a great love for that. And now I do that with my own children as we're walking through, and we'll stop and, "Oh, look at this beautiful leaf. This is from a maple tree." And maple trees turn very colorful in the fall when it gets cold, and it turns red or yellow or purple or orange. So taking your child out on walks and being enthusiastic and showing them everything you can show them and you can tell them about is a great way to teach them science at a young age and help them love the outdoors and love learning about nature. As they get a little bit older, even ages 3 and 4, you can put together a nature journal. So get a notebook, and as you find things that you're able to take with you, whether it's leaves or sticks, or if you find a picture of an animal, you could take a picture with your camera, or you could have your child draw a picture. Save some of those things in the notebook, and you can write out with your child, "Okay, what color was that bird?" "Oh, it was blue." "And what's its name?" "It was a blue jay." "And what do you remember about the blue jay?" "Well, it made a really funny sound that sounded like this." "Okay, so we're going to write out the kind of sound that it made, and we found it in the woods on this day." And that helps your child with documenting it and being able to look through it someday later. Children love books that they've made themselves, and so putting together a nature journal is one way to help them record and remember and create a book about the things that they've been learning. Another thing that you can teach your child is gardening. If you've even just got pots out on your patio or right inside your kitchen window, having your child help to plant seeds and grow the flowers and keep track of that. You could even have a garden journal if you have that as an option with growing some plants in your home. All right, so those are some ideas on science. A few ideas on language arts to help you with developing that for your 0 to 4-year-olds. The number one thing to help your child develop language arts skills is read. Read, read, read. As I already said, they don't even have to be sitting on your lap and looking at the pictures, if there are pictures, but just reading to them. If they see you as their parent reading, they're going to be curious and they're going to want to learn to read someday too. Reading stories that you enjoy help. There have been sometimes I've found a children's book and I just don't like the story. I find it boring, and so I don't want to read it to my kid. So when you find a book that you really enjoy reading over and over and over again, then you know you found a good children's book, because children love to have books read over and over and over again. repetition is an important part of learning for children. And so if your child asks you to read it for the 5th time, it's okay to say no, but it's also okay to say yes, because this is how they're learning the story. And maybe you can ask them to help you when you get to certain parts of the story, tell you, now what happens next? And they can tell you about what happens next. And they love that because it means they're making that story one of their own. So read to your children. Read rhyming books and poetry to your children. That is, poetry usually has words in it that you won't find in other prose books. Usually more artistic language that's not used in the day-to-day, but it's great for expanding your child's vocabulary and your vocabulary. And so finding books with poetry that rhymes is most helpful for children. Children like the sound of rhyming, and it's easier for us as parents to read a book where it rhymes because there's a flow to it and it helps us move through the words. This book right here is A Child's Garden of Verses, and it's by Robert Louis Stevenson, and here in America we call him one of the fireside poets because his poetry was written so that even the common man who was sitting by his fireside at the end of the day could read this poetry and understand it. It's difficult for children to try and understand poetry that's very lofty and difficult for even us to interpret. But if we can read poetry to our children that's talking about common everyday life that they can understand, then that really helps them with it. One example in this book, let me show you. There's a poem here about rain, and it says, "The rain is raining all around. It falls on field and tree. It rains on the umbrellas here and on the ships at sea." And in the picture, there's a picture of a child under an umbrella. And rain is something that little children know about. They know about umbrellas or ships at sea. And so they hear the flow of the poetry, and they know some of the words that are in it, and so it helps them to develop a love for poetry, for that flow, and learning new vocabulary. Let's see, telling folk tales. Some of you might not like to read out loud, but if you can tell stories that you already know, especially if you've got Russian folk tales or you've been learning some of the British or American folk tales, those stories are classics because children learn to love them. They usually have a lot of repetition to them. In America, we have a story called The Three Little Bears. Maybe you also have that there in wherever you are from. And it's Goldilocks goes, and the bed is too hard, the bed is too soft, the bed is just right. The porridge is too hot, it's too cold, it's just right. And if you can tell your children some of those fun stories, then they can learn to say them back to you because they're full of repetition and it's the same story each time. And also, you can change those stories to make them new and interesting and different. And so making it the three cats every once in a while will then catch your child's attention, and you learn to become a better storyteller, and they learn how to be a good storyteller as well. Also, learning songs to sing in English. Make sure that they're not too fast as your child is first learning them. Say them slowly and clearly. You might need to turn the music off when you're first learning the song, and trying to put hand motions to the song to help them learn about it is a great way to help them connect their vocabulary with the actions, and even dancing to the music is a great way to help them remember and to learn. So those are my ideas for teaching your children language arts and science. just remember that learning is a lifestyle and that children learn by playing. And so make all of life play, and don't think that you have to do anything fancy. Children are just happy to be with you because they know that you're their parents and you love them. And so have fun with them and make everyday life fun. Thanks for your time.